Okay, Dan. Floor is yours.
So hi, good morning, everybody, and Dan Clark with the Correctional Industries Program in Iowa, known as Iowa Prison Industries. So we're a program within the Iowa Department of Corrections. Typically, people know Correctional Industries for making license plates and clothing, and maybe have that program in Maine. But this is an expansion of that or an extension of that. If it's okay, I could share a quick PowerPoint just to, I know you guys get probably enough PowerPoints, but if I can share my screen, I'll just kind of whip through this.
You're set up to go ahead and share screen.
Looks like it. Okay, how's that? Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Homes for Iowa program is a program to build affordable homes at one of our correctional institutions. So we help to reduce recidivism by doing the training of men so that when they get out, they're more skilled and able to get a higher paying job. We create a new supply of affordable homes for income qualified families. And then we provide a new source of skilled tradespeople for Iowa employers. So some of the pictures here will help you just see how we do it. So you can see we truck a finished home. It's a 1,200 square foot home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, pardon me, to any point around the state of Iowa. And those are the 3 goals that I just mentioned right there. There is a board that has been set up in a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Homes for Iowa, Inc. So this board comprises stakeholders like such as Home Builders of Iowa, trade union, banker, realtor, Habitat for Humanity, people like that. So we try to bring together people that don't always agree on the political spectrum, but all have a stake in affordable housing. That has really helped with support across the board. Here's a picture of South Dakota. So in South Dakota and Iowa, the homes are built outside. They're built complete. So as Mary Jane probably mentioned, South Dakota has a much bigger program, and we've basically modeled ours, using theirs. So you can see they have about 50 home sites that they're building at any one time. It is inside a medium security correctional institution. And then the big buildings there are warehousing, so they store all the drywall, the lumber, toilets and showers and things like that. So as I mentioned, a big part of this is to train men. We have a lot of folks in our correctional institutions that have never had a job, maybe have never had a legal job, and certainly don't all have skills that are going to help them when they get out. And that's a big part of the goal of this program. There is classroom training and apprenticeships available. And so all of the skilled trades that be involved in building a home, electrician, plumber, HVAC, as well as, non-licensed trades, roofing, drywalling, etc., are all taught. We have classroom training, cover things like safety, blueprint reading, shop math, construction techniques, and so on. So our staff do the training of these men. So Mary Jane shared with the home site, the Homes for Iowa website. And so we build one basic design. There's 4 variations, but it's as I mentioned, a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch style home. So we move them all over the state. And that's a big challenge to move a house this big. It's 24 feet wide and 28 at the eaves. And, so the height and the width make for a challenge, but we've been able to do that. And of course, South Dakota as well. So these are some of the people involved in it. I'm sharing somebody else's PowerPoint. So here's where we moved them. So this location where we build them is in the middle. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but in Jasper County, which is right near Des Moines. Des Moines is in Polk County. So we have moved the homes, as you can see, lots of places up to 200 some odd miles. And last year we delivered 8 homes. This year, I think it'll end up being 22. We had a couple of delays. And then we're planning to build 40 next year. And we've sold all 40 already. So here's a little bit about the program and about the house. This will be in the recording, so I won't read it to you, but it is a well-built home, very energy efficient. So here's what it looks like, and then here's what it looks like when the developer or Habitat or whomever puts a garage on it. So typically we see that these are put on a basement. So now you got 1,200 square feet in the basement and with a garage attached to it. So we don't build the garage. Those are built by local contractors. Here's some other photos of homes that have been delivered. The home, as we do it, is built complete except for the flooring. So you can see they got the Pergo or LVP or something there, and then the appliances. So the cabinets are in there, the lighting's in there, the shower, the toilets, doors and windows. It's painted. It's pretty well, you know, ready to occupy once the flooring's put down. Picture of the bath. So that's all in there. Here's the living room or great room. So it's a open floor plan design. There is a one of those virtual tours you can take on the Homes for Iowa site, so you can see one of the finished homes. And there's our guy Diego again. So you know, this is something that has as I mentioned, a lot of support. The parole board looks at the people involved in the program, and they know that when they get out, they're going to have a good paying job waiting for them. So that factors into the release plan. The training is pretty, you know, compared to all of our other programs, license plates and all the other things we do, we have by far the strongest training program for the Homes for Iowa program. So right now we're at 42 men. And so it's a very busy site. Typically, you know, we have, I think we're at 8 staff and 42 men. We're going to be at 50 next year. And eventually we'll have over 100 men working on the home site. The home builders do not oppose this. They don't see it as competition. These are not homes that are going to be built otherwise. And so the home builders are in support of it because they really, really need the people when they get out to be able to build their homes. So just a few other quotes you can read at your leisure. So, all right, I think that's probably it. Oh, okay. So here's a little bit about the economics. So this year, 2021, the homes are priced at $75,000. The board, this 501c3 I mentioned, set the price for next year at 90. I think they're probably going to change that because material prices have come back down to earth. So in that neighborhood. So what that is a fully completed home that is set on your foundation. And so the local developer, the local habitat, or the local home buyer, the local housing trust fund, whoever's buying the home, then they're going to purchase the site. They're going to have the basement poured. They're going to have the driveway and sidewalks, the garage, the deck, whatever else they want. So typically what we see all in is a home without a garage in the $160,000 to $175,000 range. And then a home with a 2-car garage, maybe a deck, up to maybe $225,000. So I don't know about Maine, but for Iowa, that's, you know, definitely on the low end, especially for a new home. Home builders mostly, of course, are building things at 300 and up. They are managed through what's called our councils of government. I don't know the organization there in Maine, but you know, the correctional industries program doesn't have, we don't have people out in the communities, right? So this program needs somebody that's working with local cities and towns. We're mostly a rural state like you. And so, you know, those cities and towns don't build a lot of homes, or if ever, you know, home builders build homes. So they need guidance on how to develop it, how to do all of those things. Okay, so in Iowa, the income limit for the total household is $100,000. South Dakota has a more restrictive income limit, so this is something that, every state's going to decide on their own. We do allow the developer to add up to 10%. So let's say the developer buys one of these homes for $75,000, then they have a lot they purchased. They paid $30,000 for the basement, this and that. And if they total up to $180,000, they can add up to $18,000 of profit before they sell it to an income qualified family. We don't allow rentals, South Dakota does. Okay, so the local councils of government, this happened to be one. I just grabbed this morning and just occurred to me. Sometimes the pictures are easier to explain than me droning on and on. Okay, here's the home site as it's going to exist. It looks pretty close to this now. So we'll have about 50 sites that will be available to build. More or less, we're able to build 2 homes a year on each site. So this will bring us to about 100 homes a year. And so that's the plan for this program. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'd be happy to further explain or answer any questions that anybody might have.
I have a question for you, Dan.
Yes.
Real quick. It's mainly, I guess, process and setup. So if somewhere in Maine they wanted to do this, what kind of timeline would they be looking at? What kind of expenses would they be looking at out of the gate? And mainly the training. Like, how easily were you able to get people to participate in this, to train people to then build the houses in the manner of what you're doing?
Okay, sure. So the last one's the easiest question. So we have we have around 8,000 people in our total state prison population. Most of them are men. And recently we put a poster, I guess I'll say, in different institutions. We have 9 altogether. Said, hey, now wanted Homes for Iowa program participants. So we had close to 300 that wanted to be transferred to that prison to be part of the program. So for most people that are incarcerated, construction is a pretty welcoming industry when you get out. They'll look past the felony conviction. It might not even require a high school diploma. And if you're willing to work hard, you can make a lot of money if you're willing to work all that overtime. So for many incarcerated men and women, construction, is attractive for those reasons. We're in our 3rd year. So our first year was just like getting political support, figuring out how we're going to organize, putting that board together, getting the site. Second year was last year when we delivered 8 homes. We're in our 3rd full year. And so it does take a lot of money to invest, right? This thing is a cash hog. So the moving equipment, almost $500,000. If you look at that site and you got 20 homes being built, you got 20 homes worth of materials, labor, and overhead.
Yep.
You got to hire quite a few staff before you deliver your first home. So it will sustain itself, but it does take a lot of resources at the beginning to get going.
Sure. And did you have any difficulty finding people that would train the people building the homes?
No, almost all of our staff were ex-contractors. And I would say to a person said, you know what, I'm getting too old for this to be crawling around doing plumbing or on top of a roof. And besides, I hate dealing with homeowners. so they'd rather deal with incarcerated men. No, we have not had any problem. And we have, we're very fortunate. We have a very talented, dedicated staff. So I feel lucky about that.
Jeremy, you have a question?
Hi, Dan. Thanks. Thanks for this presentation. Really appreciate it. I sit on the state's Building Codes and Standards Board here in the state of Maine, and we've got we use the ICC set of codes. But I'm curious, in Iowa or in South Dakota, does the state, like facilities like this that build homes, would be required to be a licensed manufacturing facility in the state of Maine? Is that the case in Iowa? And normally, like here, we would require those to be constructed in a factory inside a building. Is this regulated by the state of Iowa, like a manufactured housing board or anything like that?
It is. So we are regulated as a modular home builder.
Okay,
So we were a little, I wouldn't say totally happy about that at the beginning. So in Iowa, the state fire marshal has the building commission, I forget what they're called. So we are regulated in that fashion. However, we soon realized the advantage of that, at least in Iowa, is that every community has to accept a modular home according to that ICC code, right? So, you know, every community has typically little tweaks to their housing code, and that can be super difficult to manage if you got to adjust your plumbing or your electrical to everybody's specifics. We do have we have both a third party inspector that's approved by the state, and then the state electrical board also comes out. Our third party inspector is the one that really does the majority of the work and helps us, and that
Okay.
we're just, again, we're lucky we got a super person, very responsive and helpful. Then the state guy, and you know, he comes by and looks, says, yep, everything looks good.
right.
So
But you're working off a set of plans that they've approved.
correct, yes. So
Perfect.
that is submitted and approved by the state.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, hi, and I'm sorry, I got to go in about 5 minutes to a rare in-person meeting. But the question I had was, obviously this is a really interesting project, not just for the housing that gets built, but for the training that's provided to folks that are at the prison. And I guess I'm curious, I forget how many years that this program has been going, but has there been any sort of follow-up assessment about whether the folks who have helped to build these homes have then gone into the field? You know, to what degree has that worked as a skill that they then brought into their kind of post-incarceration life?
Sure, great question. So in South Dakota, they have been going, I want to say 25 years. So they have collected good data on recidivism and where people have landed. We're still at the anecdotal stage. So recidivism is typically measured 3 years after release. So we're not quite there yet. But the ones that we have anecdotally followed up with, we just had one interviewed last week by one of our newspapers in the state. That gentleman got released. He was a good worker. He went to the local trade union that we've worked with, and now he's building a data center, helping build a data center that Microsoft is putting. So he's got a good high-paying union job, and that's everybody that we've contacted is still working in the construction industry. So I don't have data for Iowa, but I can tell you when you talk with South Dakota, they do have better data.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to run in a minute, but thank you for
Okay,
having
sure.
this conversation.
I'm curious, Dan, cost of like normal construction to build a stick-built home in Iowa, just looking at your price of 90,000 for next year at 1,200 square foot home
Right.
at $90,000. That's set on a foundation, including set on a foundation, or no?
Including set on the foundation, but not including the foundation.
Okay, yeah. What's the cost of construction out in Iowa right now? Do you know, for per square foot? I'm just curious.
I don't.
Okay.
So what we've seen in communities, first of all, most builders are not going into the rural communities. They want to build, you know, we have some larger cities like Des Moines where I am, and they want to build developments, you know, and they'll build 20, 50, 150 homes. So one of the major attractions is that really a lot of places in our state haven't seen homes built since the 70s. And where we have seen homes that are built, they are more expensive and with fewer features and a little bit lower on the square footage. So it's attractive, you know, but I guess I'm sorry, I don't have much.
No, that's fine.
Specifics
I
to tell
agree.
you.
I think the modulars are definitely, more attractive financially, better price point than the, we're, I think, upwards of $400 a square foot now in this area, which is absolutely crazy to think
Yeah,
about.
so for
First
12, I gotta do the math here. So, oh yeah, that's very expensive. Wow. Okay, so.
And
So,
part of
you know,
the challenge is the labor, not as just not materials. It's really labor here. That's what we have a critical shortage of. there are contractors.
Right.
So I do think the prison piece is a good way to go. Try to address the labor shortage too.
Yeah,
and
the
give these folks
the
skills.
contractors are really maybe the biggest supporters, maybe affordable home advocates too, but we're only gonna make a drop in the bucket for either of those. But at 100 homes a year and 100 men per year, we'll start to, we think, make a difference in the state. It has a lot of support from our governor, fortunately. It really from all aspects of the spectrum, if you will. As I mentioned, we have a lot more requests for homes than we're able to build at this point. South Dakota is typically building and delivering over 100 per year, and they have 1 million roughly population. Iowa's around 3 million. So, we're thinking that there's a need for at least 200-300 homes a year. I doubt we'll ever build that many, but we do see a lot of, we don't see any shortage of requirements for affordable homes, even for any homes.
Right.
So who we sell to, I didn't touch on that a lot. A number of them have gone to local habitat affiliates. So, we don't do the development. We don't find the family. We don't line up the site. We don't pour the foundation or anything like that. So there's quite a bit of work that's done by the local community. And habitat affiliates typically are used to doing that. We have some private developers. We have some, economic development corporation like that would be in a city. And we have a few individual buyers that have done their own general contracting. So it's kind of any of those. Our only requirement is that the end family that moves in is income qualified.
Do you have an asset limit on that also?
We
Besides, okay.
do not. No. So we try to make it simple. I would say if we find that there's some very, I don't know, I wouldn't say undeserving, but if we find that the homes aren't really going where we want, then I'm sure the board would adjust. And again, having that board, it's not the model that South Dakota used. In South Dakota, the program is administered and run by their state housing authority. Iowa, we took a slightly different approach. And having that board, I got to say, has really been great because it really brings all the different stakeholders to bear. And if somebody in the skilled organized labor trades has a concern, well, there's somebody on the board. Home builders, there's somebody on the board. And, that has helped to bring different voices into the conversation.
And where did you find the money to start it up?
So we got, first of all, Iowa Prison Industries, we're a self-sustaining revolving fund within the state correctional organization. So we have our own resources, not tons, but we got some grants from our own state finance housing authority, Iowa Finance Authority. They've been super. And some workforce training grants, because we do like apprenticeships. There's quite a few grants out there for apprentice programs. And then, of course, we sell the homes. So we've attracted some donations from a few corporations. And now most recently, the governor has pledged $10 million to the Homes for Iowa, Inc., the 501c3. So looks like we'll be well resourced. And I would say that's the concept that has attracted that support. Again, those three things that I mentioned: building affordable homes, preparing men for release, and creating a new supply of skilled trades. It just has built a lot of support in the state and the communities across the state. It's largely been a rural, homes have gone mostly to rural areas in our state. There's some that have gone to Iowa City, which is, one of the largest cities in the state, but most of them are going to small towns and communities across the state that, as I said, haven't seen a home in quite a long time. And so when the truck rolls in with one of these giant homes through Main Street, it's quite the event. There's a lot of social media and kids running around, and it's really quite something.
Thanks.
So I guess, for Maine, it's maybe a bit of a ways, but, South Dakota has a well-developed and program. Anytime that we thought we could never make this work, we just would take a trip up there and see it working. When we thought there's no way we can move a house this size, well, they do. South Dakota's a little easier. The topography is, a little bit more open. Iowa is mostly a state of rolling hills, so it can provide some challenges, but that's something that we're working on. We have to go prove out a site. If somebody in a particular town says, "Oh, we'd like to put a home right here at 120 Main Street," then we go out and we run the route, make sure we can get there, make sure we can get in there. Trees and power lines are always a challenge. So that's something that takes a lot of time, is figuring out how to get the house there.
Yeah, we
We're
have
also-
a challenging state also.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, most of it, not all of it, but some of it's rolling hills, but not all.
So, in South Dakota is a little more wide open, fewer trees. So, many of their state highways have broad shoulders and a little bit easier to get around. So, every state's going to have its own particular challenges with, politically and with geographically, but there's other ways to go about it too. We decided to do what South Dakota does, which is build the home complete at the prison and then send it by truck. I'm sure that there's other ways of doing it. It could be built in panels and, assembled at the site. You could take a more modular approach and, set two halves at the site. We decided for various reasons to do the same thing South Dakota was, and so far it's working well.
Now, is it just for year-round folks, that the buyers?
So the only qualification we have, Mary Jane, is that they have to be income qualified and they can't rent it. So,
And what if they sold it in a year or something? Is there an issue with that?
so there is a 5-year provision on the deed that if they, we don't want them buying a house inexpensively and flipping it basically. So there is a 5-year provision that they would have to pay back, I'll say excess equity. And, we're just in our really second full year of people owning the homes, so that hasn't come up yet. But, we just want to make sure that it goes to the families that we really are targeting. South Dakota, as I mentioned, does provide them for rental. And so that might be something the board here in Iowa decides to do eventually. South Dakota has a number of tribes, so they sell a lot of these homes to different tribes, and they also sell them to school boards. So a lot of the more rural areas of South Dakota have trouble attracting new teachers because they have nowhere for them to live, and so they have some additional outlets, I guess I'll say. So you're always welcome to visit. We welcome you anytime. It's, again, once you see it, you realize, oh, it is possible, and not easy, but possible. But, I've been involved in correctional industries now for 11 years, and, we do a lot of good things, but I've never had a program that is so well supported by all aspects of our state because of the good things that it's doing.
So, sounds wonderful. And we have people here that I'm sure must have questions, so please feel free.
Well, you probably have my email from the meeting invitation, so I'm always welcome to take a call or shoot me an email. Come on out, whatever works for you. So, we wish you well, and if there's any way we can help you. Is anybody here from corrections or correctional industries? Oh, good. Okay. So just as a FYI, so we're building it at a site that has both a medium and a minimum prison. Right now, we don't have a fence around the program, we're going to be doing that, and that will allow us to, employ men that are a little bit higher security level than what we have today. But all the men that are in the program are scheduled to be released within the next 2 years. So, that's an important part of it too, is just to make sure that we're training people that are going to enter the industry.
And can I ask a question?
Yes, Ken.
Hi, I apologize for coming in late. I had some things going on. The residents, when you, at the facility you're working at, are they paid?
Yeah, so they are paid our correctional industries level wages. They probably average around $1 an hour. So, that's typical for all of our programs, the license plates and everything else. We provide more training and apprenticeship opportunities for this one than any other. So, again, we have a lot of men that want to be in the program. So we're really happy with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, great talking with all of you. So again, if there's anything we can provide as a follow-up, really don't hesitate. We really love working with different states, and it isn't an easy program, but definitely, like I said, probably the most rewarding one that we have going.
That's good.
Thank you very much. This was
Okay.
fascinating.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Mary
you.
Jane, for arranging.
I really
this.
appreciate you being here. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
take care, everybody, and have a
Yeah,
great
it's great.
weekend.
Bye.
Thank you, Dan.
All right,
Take
bye-bye.
care.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, if y'all want to chat about housing in any kind of capacity, I guess let's do it.
So Ken, where are you? Where do you work?
I'm at the facility in Warren, as is Deputy Warden Ross is here as well.
Okay. Okay. Great.
What do you guys think about this?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys are aware, but we are currently building homes for Habitat. They're putting a development in Rockland. I believe we've done 8 or 9 what we're calling kit homes for them, where we're building, basically we're doing the framing and the sheathing, and it's going out in small wall sections, walls and floors and roofs. Part of the reason for that was we're an existing facility with an existing fence with size, issues going through our gates and that type of stuff. So we weren't able to get a full size put together home out of our facility if we built it inside. But like I said, we're building about the same size home that they're building. I think it's probably closer to 1,000 square feet than it was 1,200. But we're also building an 8x10 shed to go with each one of those facilities. And the goal is to do 13 of those. I think probably we'll have that done by the end of, we would have been done already, but COVID obviously slowed that down. But so there is a process that we already have in place that we could do really easily 6 or 8 of those a year without much more effort. And that involves, we have a prisoner here that used to be a contractor in the local area. He kind of oversees that. We have our NCCER program, which is a basic safety education program for the residents. But, like I said, we're already kind of doing it. We're not doing it at the level that Iowa or South Dakota are, but Habitat's been pretty happy with us. We're putting out a good product. So there is an availability to do some. It's kind of associated with industries, but not really. And, Habitat provides all the supplies, and we just basically, we provide the labor to frame a house for them. But it's worked well so far.
So
Yeah.
if you don't mind, are you interested in growing that any further?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
I will say that. Obviously, I'd have to check with the commissioners then, but I'm pretty confident they are going to be willing to expand that. I don't, to think that Maine's DOC would be able to provide 100 houses a year, I don't think is reasonable.
Yeah.
I think we could probably say that we could do somewhere maybe around 12, maybe throughout the state. But there are other facilities in the state in different geographic locations, which could help us a little bit as well. But I think we could do some, but like I said, we'll never be able to do 100.
And
I
it
think
sound-
there is a lot of money behind that program, I'd say. And there's grants, that's the thing there. This is a time when a lot of grants are coming through. So maybe there's an opportunity for federal money to help if that was an interest.
Well, and I think with Greg Payne on here earlier, being the new kind of senior housing advisor to the governor, I think there might be something behind this potentially that could be really good for the state, big picture. And again, it's workforce issues and dealing with recidivism issues. So I'm hopeful. It was nice to see Greg on here. I don't know who arranged that, but thank you for doing that. Thanks, Mary Jane. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So,
I appreciate this.
so Bobby, Bobby is the director of the Midcoast School of Technology. And I know I've heard he has a little tiny bit of space on weekends. I don't, because I wondered how the whole training piece for people. I talked to the guy who's the head of the plumbing program, or has been for the state also, because we just have such a need for workforce. So hopefully this can all work together at some point.
Yeah, I think, what they have going, it's certainly incredible. And it definitely shows that they have a bigger prison population in Iowa than we have here in Maine. And, I think one of the things that they said that might be a little bit more challenging here, at least I run into it for the post-secondary side, and my adult ed director runs into it for the adult side, is finding a qualified and trained teacher. It sounds really easy to find somebody and to think that somebody's going to want to retire into this position. But it takes a pretty special person that can deliver that education to high school folks and adults. And it's very different with both populations. But I mean, to kind of give you an idea of what we might be coming up against, I had a position last year that I ran for 6 months and had 2 applicants. So it can be pretty hard in Midcoast, Maine, because you're asking people to take a significant pay cut coming from the industry into education, and coming into the Maine PERS system. We're also asking them to leave Social Security and come into Maine State Retirement System, and they'll have to pay a significant penalty. I think we're one of 14 states that still is in, kind of that windfall provision. So there are a few more obstacles that we would have to kind of overcome than they did in Iowa, but certainly we're willing to help in any way that we can.
So I talked with John Napolitano, who he was head of training for the plumbing local, and they have a school, he said, with the 17 different trades that they teach in Augusta. So, whether we could get some of those folks to Rockland area that was kind of a hope there. He was going to be on the road today, so didn't show up, but he's fairly willing to work with people.
We had Tia Anderson was here yesterday. And Tia is a big supporter of our school and what we do. And, so certainly Troy is probably familiar with Tia and what they do with Midcoast Habitat. And, we're looking to do, some fairly similar projects with them and building some stuff for kind of the modular fashion for next year and bringing that to their sites. But I think there is room to grow with that partnership too. And I think they're willing to work with whatever either the high school population or the prison population is going to do. And we do have Saturdays and Sundays here. Quite a few of our program areas are empty. So I wouldn't mind seeing if either it's the county jail system, using some of that space with 3 or 4, if it's framing a wall that they would be able to do in a day, or a couple walls in a day, and utilizing that space, we could do that too.
Excellent.
Very cool. Does anybody else have anything they want to add or discuss real quick? No. So Stephanie and Susan, were you two able to exchange contact information?
Yes, we did.
Good.
Yes, we'll be in touch.
We will be in touch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to thank you all for sure for showing up to this. Hopefully it was informative to everybody. Mary Jane and I were working on some other items to bring up to discuss for other housing in the future. So we'll keep you all apprised as we get other things organized.
So the next one I know of, this one was Dan just like, I can do it yesterday, and we had a meeting, and so I just jumped for the time he could do it, and it was short notice, but I appreciate you folks showing up. There's going to be a probably short discussion on affordable housing tax increment financing on December 3rd. I think it's 10 o'clock. So we'll put that up there at the time, but we invite all of you, and I really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mary Jane. I'd also say I spoke with Joan Fopp from the Camden Rotary, and they're looking for educational programs around workforce housing coming up for January. So she was asking me for recommendations of speakers. So I don't know, maybe somebody from MCOG, whether you've recently done it or even they're hearing about this program would be good. Or what we're doing here in Maine through Habitat. Because this is one of their primary focuses this year is workforce development, housing, jobs.
Yeah, it all rolls into one because people can't afford to move here because the housing's too expensive, So
And there is none available.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and he said this little tiny house that, it was only like 400 square feet. Someone remodeled it and sold it for 500. And it was an old, tiny house at one point, but it's in Rockport. So, and the same thing up the street, a farm home house that used to be a wreck, down to the ground and back up for another 500. So, and these are, small houses.
I lost two incredibly talented teachers that I had recruited for two positions here this summer because they couldn't find a place to live.
Yeah.
So
Faster we can get stuff going, the better. So
absolutely.
I know we need the land part, right?
yeah. Well, hopefully our nonprofit will get going because we're quickly working on the bylaws, and we'll have a place to house if anybody has a tax acquired house. We'd be glad to take it. Once we're at 500 feet.
I know.
Thank you for the
Thank you all.
information.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To be
Thank you,
continued.
everybody.
Yes, bye.
Take care.
Nice to meet you, Troy and Ken.
Yeah.
And Bobby and everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.